Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to The Morning Show. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that in the network news wars, we are happy to hear you chose the TV Pilot's License, where we don't talk about the news, but we do talk about the daddy of the week. Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer. Max, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Jeff. And at top of the hour, a dog who loves lottery tickets?
Oh my gosh. Well, Max, this week we are talking about The Morning Show. We're going to Apple TV for the first time in this podcast history. But before we do so, and before we get too deep, Max, can you tell folks what this podcast is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be, were originally made, if they're effective pilots and making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
Well, before we get too deep into The Morning Show, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey there, frequent flyers. This week's episode is brought to you by Riverside. Riverside has been the go-to platform for TV Pilot's License when it comes to recording this podcast. You can record crystal clear audio and video all in one place, and when you're done, Riverside makes it super easy to edit your show and put together pre-formatted clips for social media promotion. Not a podcaster? Not a problem. Riverside is fantastic for hosting live streams, creating educational content, putting together marketing materials, interviews, and so much more. So whether you're looking to finally get that podcast idea off the ground or take your show to the next level, Riverside is the platform for you. Get started by clicking the Riverside link in the description of today's episode.
Let's dive into The Morning Show, and we're going to start off just with a quick synopsis. An unapologetically candid drama looks at the modern workplace through the lens of the people who help America wake up, which I feel like we're beating around the bush a little bit, Max, with like how that could be about anything. I feel like that could be about the people who deliver your mail, or maybe even the garbage men. But Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how The Morning Show got made?
Today, we are talking about the pilot episode of The Morning Show titled In the Dark of the Soul, It's Always 3:30 in the Morning. Jesus Christ, that's a Fiona Apple song title, which originally aired on November 1st, 2019 on Apple TV. And the show's creator, Jay Carson, asterisk? I'll explain. Before becoming a full-time screenwriter, Carson worked as a political advisor, serving on campaigns for Chuck Schumer's Senate bid in 1998 and presidential runs for Bill Bradley, Howard Dean, and Hillary Clinton throughout the 2000s. It is worth noting that, unfortunately, he also produced a 30-minute infomercial for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s 2024 presidential run. Carson is hired as a political consultant for Netflix's House of Cards, working on the show from its inception. He is the writer of the 2018 film The Frontrunner, a biopic of former Colorado Senator Gary Hart's failed presidential bid starring Hugh Jackman. The Morning Show is based on the 2013 nonfiction book Top of the Morning, Inside the Cutthroat World of Morning TV, which focused on the rivalry between Good Morning America and Today, and Ann Curry replacing Meredith Vieira on The Today Show. The project sparked a bidding war, landing at Apple as part of their initial slate of scripted shows back in development in 2017. The show was given a 2-season guarantee and $300 million in backing from the tech giant. In April 2018, Carson was fired from the series due to creative differences and replaced as showrunner by Carrie Aaron of Bates Motel. Aaron rewrote today's pilot in 3 weeks. While both Carson and Aaron are credited as writers on the pilot, Carson was awarded the Load Created By credit after arbitration with the WGA. Today's pilot is directed by Mimi Leder, a 10-time Emmy nominee, having won 2 for her work on ER. She also helped the 2018 Ruth Gator Ginsburg biopic On the Basis of Sex.
Well, Max, thank you for that background, because I learned a lot, at least. The idea that this show was rewritten in 3 weeks before all of this is absolutely bonkers. But let's start off with something that's quite a bit bonkers that I'm used to. But Max, I'm curious for you. What's the earliest you've ever woken up for a job?
Oh man, I mean for work, I've done some PA gigs where I've been up pretty dang early, but not 2:58 in the morning.
Yeah, no, seeing the 2:58 New York City flash across the screen really reminded me of my days working at Orange Theory, where I was up basically that early as well, getting ready to go and work out with people who work out at 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning, which is insane to me.
But did you ever pull a Chip Black played by Mark Duplass and sleep in your office? Did you ever sleep at the Orange Theory?
There was one time where like I called my boss, the guy who owned the Orange Theory, and I was like, listen, I live an hour away. Like, can I like sleep there just like one time? And he was just like, absolutely not. I will lose my lease if you do that. So, we learned and we adjusted. And sure, it's definitely something. But I mean, seeing Charlie Black, played by Mark Duplass, like basically sleeping with his eyes open, awaiting this ominous phone call. What did we think of the beginning of this pilot, of not being told what is happening, but obviously something has happened?
I think you're spending $15 million an episode, and the first person I see on my TV screen is Mark Duplass. What? I will say, as far as foreboding, ominous foreshadowing goes, the lines of "No, I'll tell him," and then the next couplet being "Someone better be dead, buddy," like that sets a stage for why is today going to be different. That grabs you as an audience member pretty quickly. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the idea of we have this phone call and we're not immediately told what's happening, right? It's, oh, no, I'll tell him. It's, Steve Carell's face just almost dead from being woken up in the middle of the night, maybe only even 30 minutes early for him, but realizing something so grave has happened. And then just watching Jennifer Aniston's Alex go through her morning routine, unaware, unbothered by everything, just for all of us to get slammed in the face in this single moment of what has happened today.
Cracking a sugar-free Red Bull while you make your morning coffee is some crazy work from Alex Levy, Jennifer Aniston's character.
You know what? I want to know what the caffeine intake in a day is, because here's the thing, especially since we're like seeing this and seeing the morning show, I would assume that there's some consulting. So I want to know, who is the person on morning network news that is cracking a Red Bull, having a coffee, and then probably having a nitro right before they start like talking about what's happening in Iran.
Yeah, I was going to say, I need to know like how much caffeine Al Roker, Carson Daly, Jenna Bush Hager are like all going through on a daily basis to do today.
Tom Brokaw's just straight lining Ritalin at this point. So it's one of those things.
He's got to keep up with the kids.
He's got to keep up. I mean, like when I'm watching this though, and I'm curious for you, because I don't think this show would ever come outright and say, hey, we're basing this opening sequence and why is today different off of a certain person who worked at the Today Show, right? But
does it rhyme with Schmat Schmauer?
Yeah, Schmat Schmauer, who lives in the Schmamptons, and I guess for you, were you putting Steve Carell in that character and just changing out the name? Because I found myself almost falling into that trap of just like constantly being like, oh, that's this person.
Yeah, the timing of it just really feels like it hammers home what we're doing here. So Lauer was terminated by NBC November of 2017, which means that this show would have already been acquired and in development.
Yep.
When that happened, and then they made a conscious choice to draw that parallel. So I think what the morning show does, what I felt throughout all of this, is it really tries to spoon feed you the idea of we are a prestige drama. And
yes,
it often goes so prestige that the pendulum swings back around into like soap opera and camp. It's like you could try to be such a good TV show that you suddenly become a very hokey TV show, and it's a difficult line to walk.
Yeah, and I think one scene that in particular really brings this up is when Alex and Charlie are talking with the network executives on the phone. And this is definitely, I did not expect this, but boy, I don't know about you, Max, but me being a comic book geek, when I see Billy Crudup and he's not in blue makeup, I think he's naked. I'm truly like, what happened? He forgot to put on his blue makeup, but we also have
It's a shame they covered up all that hair for Watchmen, because that's a beautiful flow he's got there. That's really some incredible hair on top of his head.
And did you recognize a TVPL alum also in that network meeting in that instance?
Oh, who's with him?
Tom Irwin of Devious Maids, our dastardly, almost so evil husband in that show. And
You're
he's
right.
just sitting there. It's one of those things where we do this podcast and like we watch TV shows so damn quickly that sometimes when I see someone from another show, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, that is that man. Why this is his job.
I was too distracted by Mitch Kessler's agent being played by Fred Melamed for that one scene.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm curious for you though, because did you get newsroom vibes from this show just from the beginning of it? It very much seems like this is Newsroom, 8 years later?
Oh, what, in the sense of it's the most acting?
Yeah, exactly. I was very surprised. I was truly in my notes. It's like, where is Aaron Sorkin hiding? Like, I didn't know that Aaron Sorkin has a pen name to be able to do some of these walk and talks.
This show, it is walk and talks. It is big cinematic speeches that hammer home the big idea. It is characters who are very prideful to the point of it being a flaw for them. And everyone is just at a 10. Like there are so few moments in this show where anyone plays like a 5 or a 6. This is just 10s across the board.
Well, speaking of someone who's at a 10 that we haven't talked about, let's journey to the middle of West Virginia and meet a spunky reporter who's been working in this business for 15 years, Bradley Jackson, played by Reese Witherspoon. And I mean, talk about a brash character who not only is seemingly pretty rude or not well liked, as she's told by her coworkers, but we get to see this moment where Bradley is pushed over the edge and fights back with someone at a coal mining protest in this instance. And I mean, this was very much an opportunity to overact in this show, in one that is filled with opportunities to overact. Do you think Reese Witherspoon really feathered that line and like was able to do so in a good way?
I mean, the rant I can forgive, but some of the other scenes with Bradley, it feels like she goes over that line of trying to be brash and just kind of getting into like cartoonishly big. But I do think this is an interesting angle of media in 2019. The idea of the small town reporter who picks a fight with someone who's just there to be an agitator and schools them on a topic, like showing that she has this like side of brains while also being a firecracker, that she can be this big personality but also knows her shit. And they do allude a couple of times that her character probably leads a little more conservative. They say that she had been on CNN as a conservative contributor before. They kind of grill her on it later on when she's brought into the fold of the morning show. Did you feel like that was necessary, or that it was kind of shoehorning it in for the pilot?
Yeah. It's so interesting watching this now in 2026 and hearing someone's being called a conservative in 2019, right? Because I would call her a conservative in the sense of like 1993, if that makes sense, where it's just like, oh no, like she likes guns and like also likes having low taxes, she's a conservative, right? There was nothing that was so in your face, because even with the opinion that was given around coal and being able to fight both sides of it, it is one that I would say is dead, goddamn dead center. She was able to fight both sides pretty easily on that. So it does almost give that sense of the idea of even what Alex's character asks her of, pick a side. You have to make a decision. And at least in this pilot, Bradley very much is just the person who's like, well, both sides have good ideas in this instance, which
I think there's a lot of stuff with this show as it pertains to its view on media that 2019 feels like a lifetime ago. Whether it's Bradley kind of towing this center aisle approach, whether it's the way that they view Twitter and how it's like, you know, people now can get caught in a bubble and they get their news in the palm of their hand. And so TV's entertainment, even the fact that Corey, the head of the studio's last name is Ellison, a last name that has a very different vibe behind it in 2026.
I didn't even recognize that. And now that makes me, because all right, I want to ask you a question, because we've talked a little bit about these news personalities that we have, and there's one more that I want to talk about in a little bit more depth. Because
Fred Malamed.
Yes. I want to talk about Mitch Kessler, because we watch Mitch Kessler, this man who is seeing his life pulled away from him in something that he very obviously sees as innocent. And the thing about Steve Carrell coming into this role is we're quite a ways away from The Office at this point in time. And at this point in time, we're seeing Steve Carell do a lot more dramatic based stuff, while still being able to rest his laurels on the comedic work that he's done, right? Do you think that Steve pulls off this scene of smashing the crap out of a TV, really like having his team surrounding him and no one is supporting him in the way that he believes he needs to be supported?
I see a lot of the darkness that he played in Foxcatcher that got him his one Academy Award nomination in this, and I could see how you look at he could play America's dad with his sitcom training and the affable everyman of like 40-Year-Old Virgin, but he could also get to that really deep, dark place of Foxcatcher, and like you could play that in Mitch Kessler. I think that as far as playing villains or playing people who have had horrible moral quandaries that they've engaged in, he is a good villain and he plays that lane well. My issue, though, is that nothing Mitch ever says makes you think that there's another side to that person. And maybe it's supposed to be that way. Maybe we're supposed to just see the flashbacks and archival clips where he's smiling and goofy to make you know there's something sinister below the surface. But every line of dialogue is just, this is the voice of a middle-aged guy who doesn't get it. When he's ranting and raving about, like, since the dawn of time, men have used their power to attract women, I was so repulsed by this character. And I think Mitch is just the embodiment of, like, selfishness and how it's all me, me, me. And he doesn't take accountability for people he's hurt or harmed, even his own family. He's ranting and raving about his affairs in front of his wife, who just says, I'm going to the Hamptons. I've wanted to divorce you for a while. Like, he just is so unlikable.
So I have a question for you, because we've talked about these three news anchor types, right? As well as an executive producer played by Mark Duplass, and then a network exec played by Billy Crudup, right? Is anyone likable of these characters?
I really don't think so, and that's my problem. Is it's like there's moments that I like. I like Billy Crudup saying we're gonna clean some fucking sea otters. That line made me giggle. But like I think Alex is selfish. I don't think she's particularly likable. I don't think Brad is particularly likable. I think she is also selfish and vindictive and mean. I think that Yanko, played by Nestor Carbonell, is just a fucking idiot who keeps putting his foot in his mouth. And I have a hard time getting on board. What I keep going back to is that all of these main characters in this ensemble have such a pessimistic, cynical view of society and humanity and media. And it just, like, it bummed me out watching these people, capital A, act, because I don't feel like anyone enjoys what they do. Like, I don't feel like anyone has that positive dial to them. I don't know. I felt like I was going crazy just watching them, like, spin their wheels in cynicism in the mud.
So one thing that I noticed, right, because we have all of these versions of people that are despicable, and I think the choice that this show tried to make was, how do we make someone worse than everyone else so that you root for everyone else in this instance? And Corey Ellison is that guy in this instance, right? Like, Corey Ellison, by pointing at the big bad boss and saying, oh, this is the new guy who literally gives the speech about what's happening in our current media climate of tech companies being able to have so much money that they then purchase news networks, which is like, and having the last name, someone new. Someone has the sports almanac. It's insane.
But he's also giving this speech about, like, tech buying up news and media while he's doing this on a network that put $300 million behind this show and is buying the rights up to sports leagues and is this $1 trillion company. Like, it's just so ironic. It's not like the peak TV era of the late aughts when it was like AMC scrapping by with things in Silver Cup Studios and Queens on backlots. Like, this is so ginormous.
But they truly, I feel like, are trying to take Ellison and be like, he's the worst guy, right? He is the guy who's trying to change everything, take this beloved thing and absolutely destroy it by bringing in all new talent, right? And that is our big reveal that we're given, right? Not only why is today different because Mitch is gone, they have fired him for sexual harassment, as well as potentially other things that we will probably come to find out if you watch more of this show. But they're also trying to replace America's mom because they don't want to just see mom all by herself in this very odd speech. But they're going to try to get rid of Alex as well. And I mean, does that, it feels like when they do this, that the way that that Jennifer Aniston is portraying it, it's like her character was in on that conversation. Did you get that vibe? Like, with the entire drinking and going into the office drunk and like all like visiting Mitch's house, all of this stuff that just like goes one on top of the other.
It's interesting the way that Alex is processing this emotion, that she has this sense of grief and loss. And while a lot of people are obviously and rightfully disgusted by Mitch's behavior and what he did in violating that trust and violating that workspace, Alex is crying in his dressing room over the sleeves of dress shirts, like this man died, like she lost like a true partner. And it's fascinating that she internalizes, at least in my opinion, in this pilot, as like, I am the one who suffered the most. Like, I am the one who is losing something because of the actions that this person did, and like now he is gone. But it is clear that while she is telling, to jump around a little bit, she's telling Bradley in their sit down about how, like, you can't let emotions get in the way of like covering the news. And it's so the pot calling the kettle black compared to everything else that we see Alex do, because that's the embodiment of what she's doing. She is letting her emotions get in the way of doing her job. It's disrupting her performance, her ability to be nonpartisan and unbiased. She is not sleeping. She is sobbing over Mitch. She is showing up at his house in the middle of the night drunk. And yeah, it does feel like this question of, is this person going to get on the right track to be able to do their job, or are they also going to be caught in the wreckage of Mitch's decisions?
So, Max, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't think you're prepared for, but I've been giggling to myself on this idea.
Is it about Fred MELAMED? Because I'm ready.
No, yeah, trust me, I wish I had 20 of questions about Fred. But do we think the morning show, based off of the snippets that we see of it, is a good news show?
No, no, I don't. No, I don't. The hardest I laughed in this pilot is the splicing back and forth of Alex's interview with Barack Obama.
Yes, thank you so much.
It is so funny every time they cut to Jennifer Aniston's face in those sequences. And that's the thing is I don't know if you watch daytime TV. I am a Today Show person in my household. It is pretty much on at 7 a.m. most days. And so I do have a soft spot for Carson Daly's PSSP and all of those things, but I don't get the impression that this is particularly good TV. Do you?
Yeah, no, that's the thing is like, I think this show did itself a disservice. And I was going to say this in wait a minute moments, right? Or things that cause us pause, but I think this show did itself a disservice by entering us into the day itself, rather than even starting with some of the montages that they hid in the background of Alex and Mitch being co-anchors, right? There's something to say about showing, because they even mentioned Sweeps Week, right? Of like showing the sweeps ad or the sweeps package of like, oh, this is the morning show. And like, there's Mitch and there's Alex, and like seeing them build this chemistry just to immediately take it away from us. That would have been really powerful to me. But also I'm watching, these numbnuts who are surrounding Mitch and Alex. And I'm just literally like, holy shit, who's hiring these people? Because the person who's most competent at their job, the person that I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, the morning show is a big deal, is Hannah, who goes to the middle of West Virginia to find Bradley with the jet. And I was just like, oh, this is interesting. The one non-camera talent is the best person on that show. The one person who can go to the ends of the earth to get a story and is behind the scenes is the best person, because Steve Carrell looks like he's fumbling over himself in all of like the fluff pieces they do. Yanko Flores, which first off, who got the name Yanko Flores through into this script, looks like an absolute imbecile. We both know that was a placeholder.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not going to call this guy Yanko, right? He looks like an absolute imbecile when they're having to talk about trauma with, I guess it's supposed to be either like a therapist or an expert in that like first scene we see. Yeah, I agree. It just at no point do they seem like they're making good TV, but that's the hard thing about showing other types of entertainment in a TV show or a movie. It's like, you're going to do something about bands? Well, the songs have to be good. You're going to do a drama about a musical? Well, the musical has to be good. You're going to do a TV show about another type of TV show? Well, now a second TV show also has to be good. And like, it's already so difficult to do, and now you're adding another layer of difficulty on top of it.
My thing is, I watch the morning show and I look at it as a news program, and then I'm like, let's think about other like media entities that have tried to be news show based. And I'm like, yeah, I think that the news show that the Anchorman is based off of is better than the morning show. And like, that's run by Ron Burgundy, and he's a buffoon.
You know what show within this show I want to see more than the titular morning show?
Oh, please.
Gilmore Girls, the musical.
Yes,
I want to see Gilmore Girls, the musical. And the fact that you are going to tease Gilmore Girls, the musical, without a snippet of Gilmore Girls, the musical, is malpractice. And I know I'm mixing up my terminology now, but no, it should be a crime. It should be a federal crime. And the FCC should get involved and say, you are legally required to show us Gilmore Girls, the musical.
Yeah, do you think that they approached Warner Brothers and were like, hey, we need a quick favor, and Carole King, we need a quick favor. We'd like to do like just a little snippet of like your IP, and they just got immediately thrown out by David Zaslav. Like 100%. They approached Apple was like, please just like one quick favor, we'll be like best buds. And David Zaslav told them to fuck themselves at a Knicks game. Like that absolutely happened. But I mean, I want to talk about this. There's two big moments that we get to finish this pilot, right? And the first of those is we get to see Bradley and Alex meet in this moment that I think is the most revealing and the most acting that is done in this show, for sure.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I want to go to you. We sort of, just to set the scene for our audience, if you haven't watched this show, Bradley comes in trying to remain confident, trying to not be like bright-eyed in, you know, or whatever it is, not to seem like she's been there before, right? Saying, oh, every newsroom is sort of the same. Every newsroom's a little bit chaotic, trying to not make it seem like a big deal. And everyone seems welcoming. But the minute she meets Alex, the tone completely changes. And we have this interview that's supposed to be a puff piece, right? And then turns out to not be. So, I mean, what did you think of this scene?
Yeah, there's a big screen behind them. It's called Viral Moments. I mean, that feels like the ultimate, like, and now let's check out this little boy who loves flipping hamburgers. Like, like that's the tone of when Viral Moments is behind you on a morning show. And additional context, Bradley's rant at the coal mine protest against the agitator gets filmed. It ends up on social media. It goes extremely viral. And Bradley has all his attention put on her that can change her career. So she's brought to the morning show to talk about it. And what could go from being such an innocuous fluff moment about like a journalist who stood up for people in her community becomes kind of a threat through the lens of Alex. This accusation of, you knew cameras were on you, like this was a staged moment, don't you like lean towards a conservative network bias, like everything on it shifts in a way that does not feel like a morning show, does not feel like the 7 a.m. hour, does not feel like people are outside with signs. It feels like this is nighttime, primetime broadcast. It does not have the panache and glitz of morning TV. It feels like the show at its most cynical to me.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it is moments like these that I look at this show and I think about the script of this show, and it starts to show that multiple people had hands on this script. It was not one person's vision and through. It does almost seem like a Frankenstein story of sorts, and a Frankenstein moment of, we go from this Me Too movement based story into, oh, this is a woman who's under threat and sees someone who's younger than her, who has the spotlight of a nation during her time of sorrow, and decides to attack. And I normally, when you have two big actors who are going against each other in a scene, I'm very much like that scene in Godzilla where I'm like, let them fight and let's just see some big boy acting. You know, I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm sitting down. I'm seated. I'm ready for this. And it was interesting because this was very much, initially there were moments where I was like, oh, good punch. Like, great. Like, we got those first few blows of a heavyweight fight. And then it just started to slow down a little bit. Like the punches didn't have as much pizzazz, and both of the heavyweights tired out a little bit, and it left, the ending of that scene just seemed so like it just seemed like it sort of like it happened, and they were like almost surprised. They were caught surprised that like, oh, we had to end the scene because like we ran out of money because we had.
And then what? We have to cut back to Yonko? Like what are we supposed to do with that?
What is Yonko doing? Like
the weather.
Yonko's playing with a badger. Like, how did a badger get in here? This is New York
He's
City.
the weatherman. Where did he get an animal?
But you know, there's one other scene that we get that really does sort of end our pilot, which is the idea of Mitch and Alex finally seeing each other for the first time ever since the news broke. And there are a lot of reveals in this scene, right? The idea that, you know, Alex doesn't feel like she can be seen even seeing Mitch. He has to be treated almost like he is, as you mentioned, dead. The reveal that they slept with each other, which was something that I think was very, very well done to be saved for that moment in time. But do you think that this acting moment was a little bit more well earned and well acted?
I think it is the one scene to me where we're not talking as much about the show happening in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a little less jargony. It is two people who are dealing with their relationship as a result of Mitch's actions. And it is a dynamic that I am more interested in exploring because, yes, the reveal that one of Mitch's many affairs, as he refers to them, harassments and misconducts, as these people say they are, you know, Alex is one of those people. And they're so desperate for human connection and interaction that they are like throwing themselves in each other's arms, but also disgusted by one another. You have a gun revealed in this sequence, and Mitch shouting, "Please stay, I've got a gun," and Alex saying, "Oh, have fun with that," which I'm just like, okay, that's going to be a third act reveal, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it is the moment where I think like getting away from the morning show itself allows for them to do their best acting.
Yeah, and who knows? You know, maybe after this pilot, the show does focus a little bit more on stuff happening outside of the show than the show itself. But that is this pilot. This pilot does end with Mitch revealing to Alex that he found out that they were trying to get rid of her. With the way that the show was going and her storming off in the woods to get into her car, and Bradley receiving a call from Corey Ellison saying that she might be getting her big break if she meets him for a drink. But Max, I'm curious. We talked a lot in this instance about this show, but were there any things that you loved about this pilot that maybe you want to give a little bit more shine to?
Hey, Geoff, did you know there's a big event in 2 nights? And it's just going to be called The Big Event, and it's in 2 nights. I want to know what the big event in 2 nights is. Tell me what the big event in 2 nights is.
Well, I like when you said that initially, I like got out of this show and I was like, well, yeah, the Oscars are on Sunday. So like, yeah, that is a big event to break the fourth wall for the audience. Yes, we do record this a little bit early, but like, so whatever happened with the Oscars, I hope Sinners won everything. But yeah, no, the idea of like alluding to the secret is insane. Like that is an insane idea to try to get someone to be like, wait a minute. Because if you're not paying full attention to the show, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And you could just be like, oh, sure, whatever. I'm more like, personally for me, as far as things that I love, the idea of alluding to the Gilmore Girls, the musical, and me now sitting here thinking about what would the numbers all be. Would it just be a Carrell King jukebox musical? Because yes, that's what I would probably do in my dumb mind. But like the way Daniel Henderson, the character of Daniel Henderson played by Deshaun K. Terry, was just like ragging on the show was just something that was so wonderful to me in that moment, even though I love the Gilmore Girls and I would absolutely be there for opening night if I could be. Well,
great
show.
News, Geoff. We've got a small snippet here. A 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you Team Jess, Team Dean, or Team Logan? Are you Team Jess, Team Dean, or Team Logan?
It's self-love for me. Lorelai, you got to get that self-love going. But, you know, Max, we talked a lot about few different wait a minute moments. I want to see if there's anything else that maybe you want to highlight that caused you pause with this show.
Yeah, how much did Salesforce pay for that lingering skyline shot of their logo in New York City?
Jesus Christ. The product placement in this show was something else. That is for sure. I mean, I do have one. I think that this show does itself a disservice by showing us so many people all at once and like making sure to give these lingering focus shots on each of these people as well. Like, just as an example, right? When Alex, after filming the episode and like she gives this well-written monologue, we then meet her team, and it's very, very obvious that we're supposed to really believe and know who each of these team members are. You mentioned Mitch's team and like having these big drawn out shots of each and every person. Like Patrick Bristow is in this show, and you see him and you're like, oh, I guess Patrick's gonna be in multiple episodes. Good for him. Like, love that for him, bud. But like, it's such an interesting choice, and I know that network news takes a lot of people to be able to make possible, but to have an hour and 3 minute long pilot and decide, okay, you're going to meet everyone who works at this network under this show, is a little bit maybe too much of a choice when we could have developed the characters a little bit more and made them even likable a little bit more. No in-flight question this week, but if you do want to submit an in-flight question, you can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com. You can also go to 213-290-1713, shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail, and we also take them on Instagram, so make sure to follow us there. Let's talk a little bit more about the history of the show. 4 seasons, 40 episodes, and a 5th season is on the way. You can find this show in its entirety on Apple TV. And fun fact, you can also find the first 2 seasons on DVD sets, which I think is very funny since this is a streamer. That's funny to me. I love that Apple was like, what if we get into the hard media game? And
I'm watching it on an iPod video, the U2 edition.
Oh, what about the iPod Red edition? Did you ever know anyone who had one of those?
I mean, also Bono essentially. Like U2 had 2 different iPhones or iPods, basically.
Yeah, exactly. U2 ran the world, and then they forced you to listen to them, and everyone stopped. I have a lot of questions. I do have a fun fact about this show. So, Max, what do you think they called this show in Australia?
Good day, mate.
No, it was actually they had to change the title to The Morning Wars because there's already a show in Australia called The Morning Show that is a very popular TV news morning program, wonderful. As far as viewership for the show, this was a show that Apple was using to really drive the idea of getting into Apple TV Plus when they were launching the program altogether. So there were teaser trailers for the show. There was Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston showing up on stage to events together to say like, hey, we're going to be on Apple TV. And this show started when it debuted with other shows like Dickinson. And it had 5 times the average viewership of any other Apple TV show.
Yeah, you know, Dickinson.
Hey.
You guys know Dickinson.
I do know Dickinson, and we will do that show at one point in time.
Great.
Shout outs, because that's a fun one. As far as viewership, though, this show is the second most watched Apple TV show of all of their different series, only first being Ted Lasso, which I don't think either of us are surprised about. Let's talk about awards quickly. 92 nominations leading to 13 wins. That includes a few different Creative Arts Emmy Awards, a SAG Award for Jennifer Aniston, and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards for Mr. Billy Crudup. But no surfboards are at the morning show. But, Max, that's the history of the show. Before our plane comes to a land, I have 2 questions for you. The first is, based off the pilot and the pilot alone, are you going to watch more of this show? Or do you want to see what happens with Mitch and Bradley and Alex and, Larry Ellison's son, Corey Ellison, who's not really related to Larry, but he sort of is.
Grown man named Corey just bothers me.
Mark Duplass, we barely talked about him, and he's in this show as the biggest yes man in the world. Do you want more of that? And then the second is, what do you think this show is classified as? I'm going to ask you that. Like, honestly, what would you classify this show as?
Okay, so for your first question, this is a no for me. It is so bloated. It is so overstuffed. And it just feels so mean to me. It is a show with such a cynical, nose down look at humanity and society that honestly bummed me out to watch it. And I think that it is trying so hard to be so capital I important that it just loses its way. So this is a no for me. And I'm going to say it's classified as a drama. Is that what you're asking for?
It's ready for this. It is classified as a tragic comedy, which is insane and not a real thing, I think. And I mean, my second question for you is, we talk a lot about shows that are based off of shows, right? Like the background and also having to have the show itself or the thing itself, whether that is us being behind the scenes of a band and seeing the band on the road or all of those sorts of things. Do you think there is a place for that sort of dramatic telling of the behind the scenes, the reality, the stark contrast of what we see, or maybe not?
I think there is always going to be an audience for how the sausage gets made. That's what we're going to call this genre for right now. But
hell yeah.
It's a really tough dance to do because, like I said earlier, you not only have to make a good TV show and a compelling TV show, you have to do the other media within it so well. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of like miniseries adaptations in this type of genre, because you could get in and get out and you could just wrap your story up and do it like an 8 or 10 hour movie. To try to do it consistently well as a TV show over seasons is difficult. What I think you could do well is when it's fictionalized and you're a little bit removed from it, like a Sports Night or a Spin City, where you're making something, but it's not necessarily the focus of your show. It's still an ensemble thing of sorts, and the other thing is just the world versus the show entirely being about making the thing.
Yeah. For myself, really quickly, this show, there is something here. There is something there. You know, sometimes you see a potato and you're like, boy, is that a potato? But it could be French fries, and French fries are great, but I don't want to just eat a raw potato. And this show is a raw potato. There are so many great things there are so many great things that could be made from this show, just with the talent that is there. But I think that there was, rewriting a pilot in 3 weeks, I don't think is a recipe for something to be super successful. When someone has a vision and then is taken out from leading that vision and being the guide and the showrunner for that vision, stuff is going to be lost in the sauce in this instance. And I think the pilot, unfortunately, felt that reverberation. As far as shows about shows, you mentioned a couple of great ones. I'm going to mention a a short form series that I absolutely adore. Max, are you familiar with The Earliest Show, another morning news show program starring
Was that the Ben Schwartz one? Yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz and Lauren Lapkus. That is my morning show. That is the only one that I want, because it is truly just, it is wonderful. And like, oh my God, I want shows that can, like Sports Night, you took it from me, because like, that's a show that truly showed like, this is how what you love is how it's made. We're going to do a little bit of it. We're going to show little snippets, but you're never going to get the whole thing. You're going to get little tastes here and there. Something like The Newsroom, where it took itself so seriously about showing how something gets to the screen, and it was so well acted even though there were many eye roll moments, like telling someone on a plane about a certain thing that happened, sure. But those shows really took that focus and prided themselves on making those moments great. I think this, obviously, there's an audience for this. It's going on its 5th season. I hope it gets better, but based off of the pilot and the pilot alone, we are both no's. But I am going to ask you, Max, devil's advocate, really quickly. Give me one reason.
Oh, because we're going to go clean some fucking sea otters no matter how much soap it takes, because this is the most TV I have watched in ages, and because I want to see everyone play to the rafters on a weekly basis. You do not watch the morning show for its plot, or for its subtlety, or for its nuance, or its character's emotional depth. You watch because it is cranked all the way up, and you want to see really traditionally good-looking people filmed on the best cameras money could buy in your living room.
Yeah, and for myself, literally, you look at this cast, and it is just a bunch of stars. And, like, the thing that you know at the end of the day is there's going to be moments where people just hit a goddamn home run. Sometimes you're going to be in a rut, right? But then Aaron Judge goes to base. Maybe he's had a few games where he hasn't taken a hit, and he just slams the thing out of the fucking park. So I fully expect there are going to be those home run moments on the show, and I'm really hoping in episode 2 we get a little peek of Gilmore Girls, the musical. But, Max, that is our pilot. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find us wherever we want to be found. So, Max, where can folks find you?
You can find me getting ready for the big event in 2 nights and on all things social media at Maxwell Sing.
Oh my God. And you can find me also getting up at 2:58 in the morning and wondering what I'm doing because I don't work at Orange Theory anymore. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. You can find the TV Pilots License on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Pilots License. If you have a question for the show, maybe an in-flight question or a suggestion of what you'd like us to watch next, you can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com. You can also go to 213-290-1713 and leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text. You can also join in on the conversation on our Reddit at r/TVPL. Make sure to follow us to get a sneak peek of some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.